Hello, everybody. We are here with another student, Greek IB student in the country. And you can see behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, that I am at a Sigma Phi Epsilon house. And so to tell us where this mystery SigEp house is, I want to welcome Drew. So Drew, welcome to the Greek and Christian podcast.
Thank you.
So Drew, tell us all the fast facts about yourself. Where do you go to school? What year in school are you? And you're a SigEp, but you can, hype that up again if you want.
Definitely. So I'm Drew McCauley. I'm a senior at Indiana University, and I'm a member of SigEp at IU. I love SigEp. It's been a great 3 years now. Even with COVID and other things, I still felt like the relationships and friendships I formed there are going to be lifetime. So I've really enjoyed it so far, and I'm excited to be on here.
Awesome. Glad you're here too. I love that. Again, I'm changing up my virtual Zoom background for everybody I talk to. So I kind of feel like I'm with you at your fraternity house, even though you're in San Francisco. Which again, if you're watching this on YouTube, Drew also changed his background. He felt, his background was a little distracting in his room, although I could see a SigEp flag in his room. So he chose the beautiful San Francisco background.
Right.
But anyway, so Drew, you are heading into your senior year. You, I'm sure, have made lots of memories, fun moments with your time in SigEp. So I'd love to hear, what was one of your favorite memories or moments in SigEp?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, just running through them all from the past 3 years is crazy. But every year we do a charity hockey tournament where we play another fraternity on campus, and we get to go there as our whole house and cheer us on and yell at the other team and kind of really get into it. And it brings everyone together and gives you a sense of pride in your fraternity. And we're usually pretty good at hockey too. So it's really fun to kind of go to those games and experience them and get to be with all your fraternity brothers at the same time, and then kind of watch guys who you wouldn't think are very athletic go out there and just skate and dominate a hockey game. Is really cool to see. And then also we did a formal trip to Nashville where we all got to go out and go to live music bars and just really experience Nashville for what it is this past year. And after COVID kind of had us all isolated for a while, it was really nice to go out and go listen to live music and explore a city for what it is after being cooped up inside for so long. So that was great. And I feel like I really made a lot of great friendships out of that as well.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. And I was talking to Drew before we hit record, and he said him and a bunch of brothers decided to live in Bloomington, where IU is, for the summer, just to kind of, have that experience that they kind of lost of not being able to be together in person. So I love that. I think that's the kind of brotherhood or sisterhood that we really look for when we join Greek life. Well, hey, this is a standard question I'm also asking everybody because I'm a foodie. Love to eat. Some of my favorite memories were having meals with my sorority sisters when I was in college. So tell us, what's your favorite place to eat at, either on or near campus in Bloomington?
It's another tough question. But so about 15 minutes off campus, there's a huge lake called Lake Monroe. It's non-residential, so it's just surrounded by trees and forests, and it's really beautiful. Lots of birds and cool fish and stuff. And there's a restaurant at the top of a hill on Lake Monroe called Scenic View, and it's only open Saturdays and Sundays, but it's at the top of a hill with an opening on the lake, and you can look out over the whole lake and really see the beauty and the sun and all the boats going around. So I love eating there, and the food's also amazing. They have a really great breakfast and brunch menu where I always go for the sausage and gravy, biscuits with eggs and all these things, and it's just so good. So it's not a very common answer for an IU student, I feel like, but that's my favorite spot to go to.
That's awesome. I love that. I love biscuits and gravy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, I'd love to hear a little bit about, your faith background. So what's it been like for you, to intersect your faith with Greek life?
Right. So I've grown up going to church my whole life. Both my parents really stapled that in, that going to church and following faith ever since I was in probably elementary school has been something I've always been taught and something I've chosen to follow. But going to college, it really was kind of okay, this is Drew, this is kind of on you now. This is on you to follow your faith and continue to pursue God. My parents put that foundation in me, but they kind of let me go off and do my own thing and allow me to choose, do I want to follow this or do I not? And then getting involved with Greek IB, I kind of struggled through it first semester, not really having a church home and not really having a club. And then Greek IB really kind of scooped me up and helped me continue to pursue my faith in college. And it's been great. My mentor, Jimmy, here at IU always tells me that if you can find your faith and continue your faith in a fraternity house on a campus, like, you can continue it anywhere. So
that's right.
Sometimes I feel like if I'm struggling or if I'm falling behind, that like I think about what's surrounding me and how I'm continuing to fight the fight, and it makes me feel good. So going to my senior year, I definitely feel pretty good. I found a church home. I found some great Greek Christian friends, and I found some friends that I'm still trying to work on, so it's been really great so far.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that because, right, I mean, we talk about this all the time on the Greek and Christian podcast, that it feels impossible sometimes to be a Greek and Christian, or the stereotype, right, is that you can't. Yet, we have found that, if you can figure it out, if you can figure out how to integrate your faith with being Greek, yes, just like what your mentor Jimmy says, is that you can do it anywhere. You can do it at happy hour in your workplace. You can do it when you're surrounded by work colleagues and, they're all like joking around, and, you can figure it out.
Definitely.
And so, yeah. And I mean, as someone who's an alum, I'll say, like, it is still challenging after college. Like, just because you graduate and you become an alum doesn't mean that all the struggle, with drinking, alcohol, anxiety, mental health, busyness, except dating, all of that, it doesn't just magically go away. I mean, if anything, I think in some ways it can be more challenging. And so I think, the way that I had to grapple with my faith and my sorority experience really helped me then to feel more prepared when, all of a sudden I had to figure out how to live with integrity, around coworkers, and around friends who didn't share my beliefs. And so, that's awesome. Well, one thing I've heard about, Drew, is that you and one of your fraternity brothers, Pete, who we're going to try and talk with as well, you guys have been leading a Bible study in your fraternity. And so I'd love to hear more about that. Like, did you guys start it, or did you was it already there and you guys took over leadership? What was that like, stepping into that leadership role?
So Pete and I had it actually kind of nice. Pete's older brother, Jack, started the SigEp Bible study before we were at IU. And he was a junior when we did join the house as freshmen. So he kind of led us through how to lead a Bible study and how to really take it over. And then our sophomore year, when Jack was a senior and kind of moving on towards looking at jobs and other things, Pete and I took it over. So we've had it for about 2.5 years now, and it's been great.
Nice.
Being able to invite your fraternity brothers and knock on their doors in the house, like, hey, we're having a Bible study in their conference room. It's been awesome so far. And it's really cool to see guys who you wouldn't expect to show up, or guys who you wouldn't expect to ever open up about their feelings or about their faith, come down there and really kind of come out of their shell a little bit and talk about deep things that you would never expect. So it's been an up and down ride, definitely, with participation. With everything going virtual, it was definitely harder to get guys to come. But when we were all in person, we had a really special thing going, and we're hoping to continue that this upcoming semester.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was one of my favorite things about leading my sorority Bible study, is you'd get people who, had no faith background at all, some who grew up, in a Christian situation, but maybe it wasn't on their radar now, people who really wanted to grow in their faith, and they'd all kind of come to Bible study because, one, they were spiritually curious, and two, they just wanted to have deep conversations with people. And I think that's true. I think a lot of us are just really longing for that place where we can be real and honest. And so I love that that's been a space for your fraternity brothers. And did you say, okay, so is this Pete's biological brother, Jack, also his fraternity brother?
Correct, his double brother.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if you've been listening, this is to our audience, to the Greek and Christian podcast, you know that, we have a lot of students who there's never been a Bible study in their fraternity and sorority, and they started on their own. And then we also have students who, they're taking over leadership of an existing Bible study, and we have awesome resources for both. And I mean, what was that like for you, Drew, when you came to college and there was a Bible study already in your fraternity? Like, did you get involved with that fraternity Bible study right away? Tell me more about that.
Like, as I said, it was kind of hard for me to find a faith foundation my freshman year.
Yeah.
And joining a fraternity, I definitely didn't expect that to help me with that. I expected to kind of have to split those two things and be like, okay, this is my fraternity life and this is my Christian life. And they're going to kind of be like parallel almost. But then going in and then sitting at my first chapter, Jack made an announcement like, hey, everyone, like we have a fraternity Bible study chapter that we do every night before chapter. And I was like, wow, like this is actually really cool. Like I didn't expect this at all. So after I checked it out, it was awesome to see these guys who were older members of my fraternity, guys I looked up to who joined this Bible study. And it kind of gave me people who I could look up to and people who could watch out for me when I was a freshman and a sophomore. So just being able to join a fraternity and not expect to have a Bible study and then to see it was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's, what we really hope for in Greek InterVarsity. We'd love to see like every single fraternity and sorority across the country have a group like that, so that if you want to grow in your faith and thrive in your faith in college, you have a way to do that with the people that you probably trust the most in college, your brothers and your sisters.
Definitely.
Well, I'd love to hear what encouragement or maybe advice do you have for Greeks who are trying to grow in their faith?
Oh man, my advice would be to just keep going. It's not always going to be perfect, like you said, especially this past year. It's been a lot of like ups and downs, like mental health problems and a lot of other things. And it's not always going to be like a perfect upward swing, like following faith, especially in college. College, I feel like I matured 10 years every year of my college experience. So you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. You're going to go through a lot of growing pains. And just know that like if you slip up and you like if you miss a Greek IV thing or something like that, it's okay. Like I feel like for me, I really got down on myself whenever I missed out on like a faith opportunity. And it's like, it's okay. College is a growing experience and you go in as like a little 18-year-old and you have no idea what's going on and you come out like a mature like 22-year-old. And I just think like it's totally okay to slip up. And I was always really hard on myself. So whenever I slipped up, I kind of got down and was like, oh, you're not following faith as much as you should be in college. But just knowing that like it's okay to slip up, it's okay to mess up. Like that's what you have your Greek IV support system for. I think that's the advice I'd love to give people.
Yeah, I think that's a great word. We've heard that, from other people that I've interviewed too, of just like, you don't have to get this perfect, right? And that's what grace is all about. That's the heart of the gospel, is that we always have access to God's grace. We're never, too far away from receiving grace and another chance. And so I love that you shared that, because it's so, oh my gosh, it's so easy in Greek life to feel like we have to get it perfect the first time, right? And that's just right. We can be super hard on ourselves, and that's not what God asks of us at all.
And God is so forgiving, and that's something that I always have to remember as well.
Yes. Yep, that's good. He's far more forgiving, far more patient, far more merciful, far more gracious, and far more just than we really understand that he is. So that's
definitely. I agree.
Well, hey, we're on a podcast, so I want to give you an opportunity. Are there any shout outs that you want to give to anybody?
Definitely, I'd love to shout out Jimmy and Tori and Ashley at IU. They're doing great work with virtuality. Again, it was really hard, but they still put in as much work as they could and made IU's Greek IV experience still awesome. So I'd love to shout out them just because they worked so hard and it really paid off. And also I'd love to shout out Pete too, my brother in my fraternity. We've been leading a Bible study since freshman year, and I love that we're going to do it for one more round. So I'd love to shout out Pete too.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And, for those who are either watching this on YouTube or Instagram or listening to this on our podcast, we want to provide you an opportunity like Drew has had, where he had mentors, Greek InterVarsity staff like Tori, Jimmy, and Ashley, where he had, a Bible study in his fraternity. He had Christian community with other Greeks across the country. We want to give that to you. And so if you're curious about that, you just have to go to greekiv.org, fill out the contact card, and we will get in touch with you to help connect Greek InterVarsity with you on your campus. And then make sure to follow us on Instagram, as always, at GreekIV, to stay up to date on what we're up to. But hey, Drew, thank you so much for your time. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me.